Nothing Worthwhile, the recognized symbol of excellence in crappy podcasting.
Hi, I'm Evan Moody.
And I am Andrea Grutas.
And you're listening to Nothing Worthwhile
with Moody and Groo.
Clearly a Drago.
Russia will now throw its hat into the ring.
I've seen this Drago fight.
Drago is a super athlete.
I know I can beat him.
Hey, Paolo, look, maybe the show is over. You got nothing more to prove.
He thinks he's fighting for the whole country, but his reasons are wrong.
I'm asking, as a friend, stand in my corner, just this one last time.
I did not come here to lose.
Perhaps this simple defeat will be a perfect example of how pathetic your society has become.
If you're my friend, I should stop this fight. And don't do this to me.
Apollo is down.
I cannot be defeated.
Somebody get a doctor in here.
Soon, whole world will know my name. Drago. Drago.
I let it happen. I gotta take everything he's got.
He's had one professional fight, and one man is dead.
It's suicide! You can't win!
There's gonna be a time when you're gonna have to do things that other people don't think are right, but they're gonna be right for you. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Has the fight been set yet?
It's in Russian.
Are you all your strength, all your power, all your love, everything you've got.
You know what to do. Do it.
He's not a machine. He's a man. Be more man than him.
I must break you.
Rocky is in serious trouble.
Breathe. Don't be scared.
Get up, you son of a bitch.
All those fighters you beat them with heart!
Get up. Get up.
Get up.
Yeah, we're going to be the 99th podcast on the last of the Action Heroes Podcast Network to break down Rocky vs. Drago. You're listening to Rocky Slycast Redo. I'm your host with Frog Dog and my partner Stinky Pits. Stinky Pits out in Florida. How the hell are you, my friend?
Well, now that you mention it, I think I have to go to the bathroom, so give me a second here.
Well, we are back. We are once again bi-coastal. We are live via Zoom, America's #1 returning bi-coastal podcast. We were in New York. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Didn't we talk about perhaps doing something different with the Howard Stern Roundtable, like editing it, maybe cleaning it up, doing a little something?
Did we?
Andy's like China. Just slap it, put a label on it, throw it out on Zoom or whatever, throw it out. Yeah, didn't we talk about maybe we would edit it down or something?
I don't remember talking about that. I remember talking about how I don't like to edit down because I like to have it, be organic. I don't want to chop it up.
Do you have the capability to do so?
Yeah, I mean, it would be a pain in the ass. It can be done, but I didn't see. Did you see anything specific that you felt should have been excised from?
I haven't listened to the whole thing, to be honest with you, but I would have, liked to speak to you. I thought, all right, forget it. I'm angry.
What are you angry at?
We're doing this podcast in protest.
Protest of what? I think I know what you're going to talk about, but go ahead.
All right, we're doing Rocky vs. Drago.
Right.
But I go on to the Last of the Action Heroes podcast network, which we are a proud member of.
Yeah.
We were specifically recruited by El Presidente, Ryan Rebalkin.
Mm-hmm.
And I see various Van Damme themed podcasts on I see one on Bloodsport, like the guy's going to break down the 21st through 50th minute of Bloodsport. My question to you is, I thought the idea was we would stay, quote, in our lane to make the podcast special, so we would be the ones to cover Van Damme. And number two, is there a real demand to break down Bloodsport minute by minute?
Well, I'm not sure that second part. I think probably not. But yeah, I was surprised to see that. I figured that, we were asked to do Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I would think that on our Van Damme podcast we wouldn't be doing The Running Man. Why? Because that was a Schwarzenegger movie, not a Van Damme movie. So it was surprising to me. I think it was the Schwarzenegger podcast that did the series on Bloodsport. So it was confusing, and I'm not quite sure what us doing Rocky here is a little bit different, I think, because every one of these guys does their take on Rocky. Rocky's the genesis of this whole network, I think. So I think that's a little bit different, but yeah, I was surprised, and like almost my feeling was, so why did we do it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm hurt.
I wasn't hurt. I wasn't hurt. I was just a little confused. All
right, I'm gumming it up for the podcast. Come on, stop it. What do you think? I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sleep last night.
Yes, I do think that you were tossing and turning, especially when Marie called me over and over all night long, telling me that something was wrong with you. Usually, it's just your stomach, but this bug was really crawling up your ass. That's her exact words.
I'm sure Craig and Debbie are very happy for their downstairs bathroom that I'm gone. Number one. Number two.
Wait, there was a downstairs bathroom?
We went to Thanksgiving. We went to Marie's brother's, and I ate. And then, like in the evening, my dad came over and we did a second small Thanksgiving. And literally every 10 minutes on the minute, I had to run upstairs to the bathroom. It was just just too much Thanksgiving. But let me stop and pause and ask Andrew, my partner in crime, how was Thanksgiving on the southeast coast in Florida? How was Thanksgiving?
It was very nice. We went to a family friend's house where we usually go. It was smaller this year, obviously. There have been some family. I don't know how to put it, but family expirations, so it was a little somber. But it was what? You make a face at me. How am I supposed to put it? Well,
I'm sorry to hear that.
But it was a nice celebration. Very amazing food, and we had a really nice time. It was just me, my mom, and my dad going to this place. My brothers were out of town, but it was great. It was great. It was a nice day, without a doubt. I didn't like the end of that football game, but
how's mom and dad Crutheus doing?
They're great. They're great. They're as happy as they've ever been, and they're just really enjoying sunny Florida retired life, and I'm happy for them.
Well, tell them. Evan Moody says hello.
No, every time I do that, my dad gives me the whole spiel about how he's still upset about that call at third base, or first base, whatever the hell it was at this point. So I try not to mention your name as much as possible.
It's most people try not to mention my name.
Yeah, I know,
for a variety of reasons.
Yeah,
but Don, it's a very controversial call. It's like Don Denkicher. It was like the Cardinals and Kansas City Royals.
Yeah,
Waheen Andujar. All right. Well, Groo and I spent a couple of days out in New York. We were with friend of the show Craig Hasselbein, who took part in our New York State of Stern Roundtable podcast. It was always great to see Craig, Debbie, and the entire Hasselbein family. It's always great to be in New York. Groo, any final thoughts on yet another New York run?
Yes, I always have a great time there. The benefit went off beautifully. We had, we always have a good time going to New York, where we grew up, for a few days. Craig and Debbie, our dear friends, take great care of us. Had a lot of fun hanging out with them and their kids, and it was a great time. And we were able to finally get Craig to come on our podcast, and I listened back to our show, and it's really remarkable how different our opinions are. You got Craig on this side and sort of us on the other side. And I got to tell you, after listening to his arguments,
oh no,
I hate the Howard Stern show even more now.
I thought you were gonna.
I know. And
here's what I would say, if I may. I think Craig actually did the best job of all in the sense of articulating.
Yes.
I think he's trying to come from a more factual place where you and I come a little bit more from the gut, so to speak. I don't think anybody's changing anybody's minds. I won't say that the podcast made me hate Howard Stern more, but, at this point, and I don't even really want to talk. I think we got to give Howard Stern a rest in terms of a podcast topic for a while. I mean, there's only so much debate, but, right now, I'll turn it on very occasionally, and then I turn it off. And that's really the extent of my listening. And I've already said I'm sad about it, but time to move on. So
I agree.
Fixate. Let's do the Howard Stern cast. Where we ran into Howard. No, anyway, that's.
But it was fun to do. It was fun to do it with Craig and hear his perspective.
Yeah,
and,
he was good. He was good.
Yeah,
he was good. I thought he was great. All right, New York. We got to watch Survivor Series together.
Yes,
we always like to talk wrestling. You want to give a quick hitter on what you thought of Survivor Series?
I thought it was a good show. I enjoyed. I mean, usually by the end, no matter what, because it's usually on a Sunday. By match 4, you and I are, no matter how good or bad the pay-per-view is, but we made it through that whole thing, and we were enjoying it. I think the Big E Roman Reigns match was better than I thought it would be, and there was a lot of plot movement, I would say, leading into like Royal Rumble to Mania. And we have invested interest. The stakes are high for us. So, a good show. Not great, good. Enjoyed it.
I'll agree with that. I thought going into the pay-per-view, there wasn't a lot of stakes. And I think that's what, if anything, hurt the... they try to do this brand versus brand thing now, whereas before Survivor Series were strategically or not strategically thrown together teams, and I think perhaps that's come and gone, and now I think the brand supremacy idea may have come and gone. For one reason in particular, Groo, is that they just redrafted like a month ago. So how much brand loyalty do you have if you were switched? You've only been there for a month, so it's a tough sell. I thought the match, like Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair, where there was some perhaps real heat there. I was interested in that.
Me
And
too.
then obviously, you have sort of your fantasy booking matches with Roman versus Big E as your champions. There's no real stakes there. The belts are not up for grab. With that being said, I thought the pure in-ring action was real solid. And yeah, I thought it was an enjoyable pay-per-view overall. We'll see where they go as they head to WrestleMania. But I thought overall, with limited stakes, they did a good job, in ring wise.
Well, that's you mentioned limited stakes because when I said stakes, I meant for you and me. Because we're going.
No. You're saying moving forward out of the pay per view. I was saying going into the pay per view. There was not a lot there for a fan. They're trying to sell us mostly on this idea of Raw versus SmackDown, champion versus champion, brand supremacy, so to speak. They've toned it down for this pay per view, but it's a hard sell. I mean, they've only been on Raw, SmackDown, some of them for a month. How much loyalty can you have out of a month? Just my thoughts.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I'm not into the Raw versus SmackDown thing because that lessens the stakes. Because think about it, okay? You have the champion from Raw meeting the champion from SmackDown. The champion from SmackDown wins, but since there's no titles at stake, now the Raw champion goes right. Big E's Raw, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Raw. Their champion goes back to Raw, sort of with his tail between his legs, like they just got beaten by SmackDown. So now, how are they going to capitalize on that? Well, what they should do is, if they want to really build a promotion versus promotion thing, it's the only thing that's the only thing they can do. Otherwise, just going to have these one-off, Raw versus SmackDown things just for kicks. It's got to mean something, and right now it doesn't.
Yeah, I agree. A Survivor Series, I believe, is the second major pay-per-view, annual pay-per-view that was created by the WWE, meaning WrestleMania. I believe Survivor Series was second from what I've read and what I remember. And my point to you would be, do you feel like perhaps Survivor Series needs a little retooling going into maybe next year, rethink it and see where they go with this?
Well, it's become the only the only one of the big four that doesn't have much of a novelty anymore. The Royal Mania is a novelty in and of itself.
Right.
SummerSlam is a sort of Mania Junior, like a Summer Mania.
Yep.
The novelty, the Royal Rumble is a novelty in and of itself. Like I said,
fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Right.
Gimmick
That's
that I
my
never get tired of.
that's both of our favorites, I think. Survivor Series started out with the novelty, and it was exciting seeing all of these guys you would never see team up together, being put together, and sort of building the rivalries within the big team rivalry. But now it's just become a regular pay-per-view with one, maybe two traditional Survivor Series matches that I remarked to you while we were watching it. They don't mean anything. It's just it's they almost, what they remind me of? They remind me of, I don't know how many Raw you've been to Raw and you've been to SmackDown. It reminds me of the dark matches they do when Raw goes off the air. Like, I remember I went to a Raw at Nassau Coliseum back in the late 90s when things were really hot. And Raw goes off the air. Then they have this incredible 8-man tag team match with, like, Stone Cold versus The Rock. And, like, literally every superstar is in the ring for this 8-man tag team match that means nothing. It's just fun for the home crowd to watch. Now they've relegated those kind of matches to a pay-per-view, and one of their biggest ones. Yes, it needs retooling. I don't know how you'd retool it, but it needs to be. I don't know if I wouldn't mind seeing them. This would have been the best time to make it that Thanksgiving night tradition again, because no one's going anywhere because pandemic. Everyone's staying, wherever they are as far as Thanksgiving goes. Try that again. Because that was part of the novelty too. Even though I think that gave us the gobbledygooker, but it was.
I think probably there. You'll not see that only because of perhaps travel and family. Although they are doing their next pay-per-view, apparently is called One, which is January 1st. So that's New Year's Day. So that's Interesting. You'll see where they go with it.
Yeah, with this streaming, most of the time people are going to watch it, whether they watch it live or whether they watch it, when they get back. I mean, so what's the difference, really? You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Groo. And on today's podcast, we'll give some backstory to the Sylvester Stallone director's cut of Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago. Again, will be the umpteenth podcast to give our thoughts and review the movie. I actually went back, thank you, on your Vudu account and watched it again.
Twice.
Look at you. Yes, I watched it again. We will give our thoughts and review and talk about the general consensus from the critics out there on Rocky versus Drago. So I will always open it up. I like to, like the LeBron James of podcasting, Andrew Gruthis. I'm going to give him a layup. Andrew, I'm sure when you did your umpteenth Google search of Stallone and you read that there was going to be a recut, a director's cut, whatever you want to call it, that Stallone is going to helm for Rocky IV, called Rocky vs. Drago. Were you excited? Were you nervous? Did you have to go to the bathroom? What were your thoughts on first hearing the news, Stallone, Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago?
All of the above. I was excited and I was nervous, and I had to go to the bathroom.
Were you nervous, for real?
I wasn't nervous. I was like, at first I was like, yes, this is anything more Rocky. Like, he could do it till whenever and whatever, and I'll still be the first one in line. It's the series that can never get enough from me. Him doing Rocky IV excited me because Rocky IV, as we've talked about, is, well, I know it's your least favorite.
Yes, it is.
It's not my least favorite as far as movie quality goes, but it's my least favorite as far as Rocky and everything that the character and the series of Rocky sort of stands for. It was like Rocky becoming James Bond, and it was too heavy on...
Wait. Hold on. I got to follow your logic. This is what drives me batty about my friend's critical reviewing.
Yeah.
So Rocky IV was... It's not... Okay, it's your least favorite in terms of the...
the rockiness. It's all right. Let me elaborate a little bit. Okay,
I need a whiteboard.
I'm gonna I'm gonna give you a little. I'm gonna give you. All right. So it's got the original Rocky IV has a much different feel than all of the other Rockies. It's got a different score, a different composer, which is a big deal. Bill Conti had done all of the other ones, and this one brought in sort of
Conti. All right, fine.
Bill Conti had done all. He had created the legendary, Rocky fanfare and the score. So now they're bringing in this guy Vince DiCola, who is an excellent musician, but he had a much different type of music, different type of sound, a very synthy, very 80s kind of sound. So they brought him in to replace Bill Conti. They started using a lot of popular music, whereas the other ones, I think Rocky III simply just used Eye of the Tiger as sort of its theme, but then relied on the score for the rest of it. This was like, you had Survivor with 2 songs. You had John Cafferty, No Easy Way Out, which was Robert. They just basically, it just seemed to move at lightning speed without letting. Yeah, please.
I love that Robert Tepper. There's No Easy Way Out.
Oh, they're great songs. They're great songs.
I love that No Easy Way Out, though.
Why does everybody? You mean the scene, like the flashback?
The song.
The song is a good song, but the way the movie used them was sort of as narrative, sort of to move the narrative forward, to tell the story instead of just letting the characters tell the story. And I think, I think it was appropriate for the 80s. Everybody was trying to make shorter movies. And this certainly was that. And look, there's definitely a part of me that absolutely loves Rocky IV the way it was, because as I've said, and I know it drives you nuts, but it's still an enjoyable experience to watch. That being said, with this new one coming in, I was like, all right, maybe he'll make it. Maybe he'll find a way to make it into a more Rocky movie. So that was what I was excited about.
Yeah, I understood your final comment. Everything else just right through my ball head. It was a 10-minute diatribe.
So I just I should have led with that.
I understood your Rocky James Bond analogy. I certainly understand that piece, and I understood your final hope that Stallone makes Rocky IV more into a traditional Rocky movie. With that being said, Groo, this was obviously a pandemic project. My notes talk about that Stallone was, had to shut down filming, I believe, on the movie Samaritan, which interested me. Some of the stuff I read about it, and he was on COVID-19 lockdown, so he took some time to recut Rocky IV. Groo, from what I understand, Stallone's project took longer than expected. He figured it would take some 3 to 4 weeks to complete the new edit. On Thursday, November 18th, at an audience Q&A in Philadelphia, Stallone remarked that the project ended up taking 9 months to perfect. Andrew, you're a movie guy, and he thought originally 3 to 4 weeks. I'm vamping here. I'm trying to give you more content.
9
months. That's a long time.
Well, I think because I paid attention to because he was posting a lot while he was doing it, sort of updates from the from the studio and everything, and I can understand that because as he's going, he goes in, he thinks in his mind he's got a couple things maybe going into it. He's like, all right, look, I'll get rid of the robot, I'll change some of this, I'll put some of this in there, and then from what I heard, he saw how much he didn't like what was there, and he saw how much was available to sort of restore. And I think he just decided, you know what, I'm gonna go back to the beginning and start from the very beginning. And that takes time.
Did you actually speak to Sylvester Stallone?
No, but I spoke to the guy on the podcast who evidently has a pipeline to Stallone. He's like in his ear, no, that's what it seems like. Because I've been in an editing room, and it is a bitch. It's certainly not as easy as it seems, and I could tell through watching it with so many different cuts and so many different angles, that takes a lot of time, and syncing it up and with the sound and making sure everything looks as pure and as new as it possibly could be. Not surprising that it took as long as it did. And plus, he was never happy with it. He kept going back. He kept saying, and he said this. He kept saying, "Yeah, we're done." And then he's like, "Oh, but you know what? Next, I want to go back in and try this thing." So, not surprising at all that it took as long as it did.
Stallone's visit to Philly last Thursday or 2 weeks ago coincided with the one-night-only release of Rocky vs. Drago in theaters. After its one night in the big screen, the recut movie arrived that next Friday for rent or purchase on streaming services like Vudu. Groo, I believe you did see it in the theater without giving away your actual review. How did the look and feel of the Rocky vs. Drago, how did it look and feel to you on the big screen?
It looked and felt like brand new. It was a whole different experience. It was my first, number one, it was my first time back in a movie theater in a long time.
You're so courageous. You are so brave.
I am, only Rocky's gonna be able to bring me out of my cocoon. But it was pretty full house there. That press conference or that interview actually aired live before they showed the movie. The thing from Philly. And the crowd was into it. It brought me back to like when I first saw it in the theater, and the crowd cheering and rooting him on and everything. It was a fun experience, and yes, it did feel different, and it felt new and exciting because everything, Rocky IV is one of those movies that all the Rocky movies. I mean, I can quote it from beginning to end, and I know I'm a snob when it comes to this, but if there's a cut or if there's a change in dialogue or a look or a sound, I'm going to know it because I know that movie so well.
Oh, well, then, do you want to take yourself to the Rocky Slycast? Because this is a normal Rocky versus Drago review. Do you want to talk about it at the 21st minute?
Well, you're
Rocky
asking.
Gazed across the crowd.
You're asking me what I felt, and that's what I felt. I felt
new and fresh, like on an exciting date.
Like Bumblebee versus Starkist.
The recut movie, Groo, had been scheduled to be released in 2020 to celebrate Rocky IV's 35th anniversary. Amongst the changes, and Groo, you could certainly comment on them. Stallone had added never-before-seen footage of Creed's fight with Drago. Of course, removed the very infamous storyline about Paulie's robot maid. The re-release has about 25 minutes of new footage. Stallone said at this Q&A, but at 94 minutes long, Rocky vs. Drago only runs 3 minutes more than the original Rocky IV, which I wrote in my notes that was interesting to me because I felt like the movie feels like a longer, more complete sort of saga. But it's only coming in, that's what my notes have, at 3 minutes longer. Groo, no robot maid, some more fight with Drago, Creed. Stallone said overall it's much more dramatic, but it still has the punch of the fight of the big finish at the end. Any thoughts, Groo, as we move forward?
Yes, and I agree with all of that. I think when I heard they were getting rid of the robot, I was like, good, because I wanted them to get rid of everything that was so silly and to me.
Yeah. That's a very polarizing storyline, like really amongst Rocky fans. Like people get very pissed off about that robot maid deal, in Rocky IV.
Well, because it's
which at the time, like I was young, I watched it. I didn't really give it much thought. Obviously, it was there for a comedic element, but what do you think, brother?
Well, I think that at the time it's become part of the lexicon. So I think the fans that are against it, it's like heresy because they look at the Rocky movies, and so do I to an extent, as they are what they are, for better or worse, and it's almost like that robot became a character, and it was sort of part of Paulie's storyline. But
so, if I may interject, because I'm clearly not the Rocky fan of Slycast. However,
oh my God,
was there a feeling that the robot maid kind of dumbed down Paulie in Rocky IV a little bit?
A little bit. But I don't. But look, hindsight is 20/20. No. A little bit.
Work with me, Dan.
A little bit. But you tell me if you agree with me. After seeing the, and I'm not reviewing it yet, but after seeing the new movie several times, you've seen it twice. I've seen it probably 4 times.
Of course.
Yes.
Have to outdo Moody. Go ahead.
Yes, I was preparing for this podcast. No, I'm just
Go ahead.
I would say that removing the robot may have been an error.
I won't say that. What I will say is, and I mean, it's going to clue into a little bit of, obviously, review, but I'll just say this. I hope we could keep it to this. Paulie is, my feeling is Paulie is minimized a bit in this recut of Rocky IV.
I agree.
He's almost a cameo character at best here. All right, okay, cameo maybe is a little.
I don't know if I go that far, but he's definitely been sort of pushed into the back a little bit at the expense.
Sorry,
no, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing
if we ever do an Aliens, I'm just going to be like, no.
But you know what they? But you know what? But you know what they do? But you know what they do? You're right. They sort of push him to the back a little bit and bring Adrian more front and center. She was not a huge part of the original Rocky IV.
Understood, but I have a flow. Can we stick to rockiness, please?
All right, so I agree. Yes, I agree with you. Paulie is a background player for the most part in this one. As they get towards, as the movie goes on, I think he becomes more central. But yes, the absence of the robot, which cuts out a lot of Paulie's other stuff, is definitely felt.
Thank you, Andrew. Stallone, who starred, wrote, and directed Rocky IV, was joined at this Q&A premiere by Burt Young, who plays Paulie, and Turner Classic movie host and fellow Jew Ben Mankiewicz.
Mankiewicz
moderated the Q&A. He got some Nova Lock.
Did you see? Yeah, did you see? They had a spread. They had some black and whites. They had some rugula. They
went to a Bagel Boss, which featured
mandel bread.
Behind the scenes information of the making of the film. Mankiewicz said that he thought the recut film has, quote, more humanity than the original. And without getting too deep, I would agree with that. I think it's a little syrupy, more humanity, but I would agree it's definitely a fuller breast cup version of Rocky IV.
That, you know what? I would love to see that when they release it on like Blu-ray or something. I want to see that as like a critic's review. It's a much bigger breast cup of I want to Evan Moody from Nothing Worthwhile News. I want to see that on the like the critic quote on the advertisement there. That'd be perfect.
Rue, let me give you a couple of quotes from Stallone. He said he wanted to use smaller moments in the film to showcase how Apollo was, quote, like Icarus, flying too close to the sun, and bring depth to Ivan Drago's character, demonstrating how the boxer was, quote, a victim of the Soviet Union. Stallone said, quote, Dolph Lundgren was portrayed in the first one as a robotic, foolish, nothing but a pile of flesh. This one, you realize he's been constructed like a Frankenstein monster. He's a political tool, literally just like a weapon. Over the top, Dad! Any thoughts on Sylvester's comments on the recut and the characters of Rocky IV?
I agree with what he tried to do, and he almost did it. I just don't think he had enough footage. But there is definitely a depth to Drago here that wasn't there before. And there are a few different reasons for that. So yes, I believe the humanity. There's more humanity in this one. By what he means by the smaller moments, I definitely agree with that. Especially between Apollo and Rocky. This one is basically, if it's guilty of anything, it's too much about Apollo. It sort of forgets that it's a Rocky movie for a little while. In the for the first half there. You don't agree? Can I give you the example of what I mean? Can I give you the example of what I mean? Let me give you the example of what I mean.
All right, fine.
What I mean is in the beginning, and this goes to what you were talking about. This is where I feel that those opening scenes of Paulie's birthday party with the robot and that is showing the sort of relaxed life that Rocky's living now. I think that might have been necessary because what happens otherwise is it goes right into, once they recap Rocky III, which I thought was very well done, they go right into Apollo in the pool and plot begins. I would not have minded seeing those opening scenes of Rocky at home with his son and Adrian and Paulie, and doing all that. So that's why I say taking out the robot was an error, because by taking out the robot, you take out all of that other stuff. And I think, like I said, I think it forgot it was a Rocky movie in the beginning. We want to see what Rocky's up to and then bring in the Apollo thing. So that's where I thought was a little bit of a mistake.
So I'm going to give a disagree on that because I felt like we didn't need a 10-minute recap of Rocky III, and that's what it felt like the beginning of the movie. Mm-hmm. It felt like really a note for note recap. The scenes, even with Apollo and Rocky, we've kind of seen it already in Rocky III. the movie really starts to kick off for me when Apollo is in the pool, actually, and sees, a Drago, which I'll talk about that a little bit more in detail when I give my full review. To your point about Rocky's relaxed lifestyle, I mean, do we really need that much exposition? He's a boxer who's been in, $1 million fights, has won. You see Rocky, he's got the fancy haircut, he's got the Gucci clothes. There's a scene where Adrian goes into the kitchen, they got maids. I mean, do we really need to see a robot to get the sense that Rocky is now living a life of luxury? My perspective, I don't think we need that. I'll give a respectful disagree. I thought the first 10 minutes, it's fine, but it was unnecessary. I remember watching it with you. By the way, as you were sleeping on the couch, thank you very little. He goes, Groo says to me, "Hey, we're going to go to New York. We're going to watch Rocky versus Drago together. It's going to just be like we were 22 again." I'm like, yeah. We get on the couch, and I'm like, Groo, this one scene. I'm like, Groo. Anyway, so I hear what you're saying, but actually, I got to give a disagree. I could have done with less Rocky 3. I love the Apollo Rocky stuff in the realm of 4 with Drago. To your point about, Rocky relaxed lifestyle, I see Rocky his clothes, I see his mansion, I see his cars. How much more exposition do I need to know that Rocky's got it pretty good these days?
Well, I think, you're not wrong on anything. It's just how we view it. I like, at first, it was a little jarring to see, because usually the Rocky movies start with just the previous fight. Okay, then we go right into the new stuff. Here, they're going back about halfway through Rocky 3, and and at first I was like, what are they doing here? But then when I understood exactly, he's trying to rewrite the narrative. He's trying to make it less about Cold War and Russia versus United States and revenge, more about the friendship between Apollo and Rocky, and and they're showing here how Apollo really rescued Rocky in Rocky 3. Like, Rocky was done. And so I think he just wanted to sort of capture that vibe again, sort of going into the new version. So I understand why he did it. Was it 100% necessary? No. I would have rather, instead of that taking up 10 minutes of, screen time, I would have rather have had Rocky 4 stuff, newer stuff, than just rehashing that. But I understand why he did it, and it almost works. I'll say that, to me.
Okay, well, I'll give a mild disagree. Groo made his points, I made mine. Groo, you remember basically the plot for Rocky IV boiled down was Lundgren's Drago as an emerging boxer talent, an amateur champion, which I think is actually an important point from USSR. It's in now what is billed as an exhibition match. Drago fights Apollo Creed, Rocky's one-time rival, now I guess best friend and trainer. Ego and the undercurrent of international tension result in the fight taking a more serious tone, and Drago kills Creed in the ring. Then, seeking revenge, Rocky heads to Russia to train for his own fight against Drago. Couple of more quotes from Stallone. He chose to re-release Rocky IV because it was the most popular of the series. He said he wanted to remove the more cheesy elements of the film. And as I wrote in my notes, there was certainly a lot of cheese. Quote, Groo, I knew there was a tremendous room for improvement, Stallone said. I took a whole different turn with Rocky IV. We went for montage style, very 80s style, a lot of smoke, a lot of mirrors, a lot of filters. I look at it and I go, oh my God, what was I thinking? Groo, any comments on Stallone? Maybe taking a step back and looking at Rocky IV and going, yeesh, what did I do here?
Well, yeah, I mean, it makes sense because that was the commentary, not from him, but from the public at the time. Like the movie.
Yeah, from me.
Yeah, you too. And I've always agreed with that, even though I like it for what it is. I've always been, critical of the fact that they really tried to 80s it up. And they didn't have to do it. He's absolutely right. It was montage to montage. It was lightning space, quick cuts here. So you didn't have a chance to really breathe at all. It was just one thing to the next. And I think this was a chance to sort of slow it down and let us in a little bit, make us, instead of just being spectators, sort of bring us into that world. And I think he succeeded on that front.
Groo, you even mentioned Stallone added some more scenes with Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
I read this, and I don't know if you've read this. I put it in my notes, but that the role of Adrian almost went to some other actresses, or perhaps they had tried out for the role. I have Bette Midler, Cher, and Susan Sarandon.
Yes.
Now, man, if it was Susan Sarandon in her heyday, that's hot. I love
yeah,
Susan
and that's
Sarandon.
the problem. That's the
I
problem.
love Susan Sarandon now, actually.
So do I.
She's like 90. She's so good looking.
Yeah, I agree.
I just wrote another interesting tidbit. I don't know anything.
Yeah, he had said, I think.
By the way, thank God it did not go to Bette Midler. Please.
I agree. I agree. I would say thank God he didn't go to Susan Sarandon either, because then it would have had to been rated R, because I would have not gone to see it if she wasn't naked in it. So, am I allowed to say that?
Would that have been like maybe with Cher or Susan Sarandon? I'm just going to say like too much sexuality coming out of the.
He said that. He said that. Like he said, Susan Sarandon was actually kind of too attractive, or like he needed somebody who was down home,
like a housewife.
Okay. And that's what he and that's what he got. They were trying to do that. They were trying to make him Robert Redford or Paul Newman or Ryan O'Neal, from what I understand. Like they didn't want him playing. No, they didn't want him playing Rocky. They wanted two movie stars.
Okay.
But in any case, yes, that those rumors are true, and thank God that they never came to fruition.
All right, Groo, before I get to the critical representative sample of the critical reviews online, one more point I'll ask you about before we get to, I'll read you some thoughts from the internet on some different websites and what they thought of the movie. Also, I hear another perhaps point of conversation or bone of contention, of course, was that the opening, the iconic, I don't know if it was so iconic, but people, Rocky fans, the iconic boxing glove explosion in Rocky IV, and of course the opening title is a more traditional, Rocky IV, Rocky First, Balboa, screenshot as the letters move through. Any thoughts on, I hear some of these other podcasts and different thoughts about the opener being edited.
Yes, I was happy that they took the gloves out, because I think that removal fits in with what he's trying to do. He's trying to take the focus off the Cold War battle and sort of focus it more on Rocky's inner battle. What I don't understand is, now that they've gone back to that, how Rocky kind of flashes across the screen in the beginning, why they did it without any fanfare, like the main, they did it basically silently. Did you catch that? Like that didn't make sense. Like, why not? Since they're using some of the old music, why not, have it go across the screen like dun 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 dun, dun, like what? Like that pissed me off. It didn't make sense. I was really hoping that they would go in that direction. Yes, I like the little things.
What a fan!
I am.
I have 5 reviews. I cut the reviews down. You want me to read you?
Please.
Generally speaking, okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's going to take a minute or two. All right, so comingsoon.net Groo stated the following: Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago, the Ultimate Director Cut, is actually quite good. The changes made to the picture are mostly positive, at least from a critical perspective. Many of them add a distinctly human element missing from the theatrical cut, which almost rendered its characters as larger-than-life action figures. Groo, the Chicago Sun-Times online edition, also liked the film, giving it 3.25 stars, saying Rocky vs. Drago has erased all traces of the robot from the story and excised some of the light banter scenes while extending Apollo's funeral scene and also fleshing out the Apollo-Drago confrontation to balance the action and show Apollo valiantly standing up to Drago, at least for a while, thus giving him a more noble demise and a more fleshed out film. GrooScreenRant.com wasn't as positive on the film, saying Rocky vs. Drago is still a movie fans know and love, although Sylvester Stallone made numerous changes to elements that bothered him for decades. For example, Stallone cut the robot Paulie out. Thankfully, the most important parts of Rocky IV that fans adore remain intact with only minor tweaks. James Brown performing Living in America, Rocky training in Russia set to John Cafferty's song Hearts on Fire, and the climactic final fight are the best parts of the original. Stallone's director's cut doesn't take any of that away, and his new version does make some major thematic and character improvements, and yet Rocky vs. Drago doesn't quite make the overall experience of Rocky IV significantly better. Two more Groo, Polygon.com, gave it a mixed review as well, stating Rocky vs. Drago is more ferocious than the original, but at a cost. Given its remarkably slender narrative of 91 minutes, Rocky IV is more training montage than movie. The once gaudy touchstone of 80s cinema has been transformed into a strangely grim rumination on the warrior's code. Visually and tonally, it's a much different experience. Those 42 minutes of new footage promised in a press announcement are there, but at 93 minutes with credits, it also means a third of the movie that's been a cable mainstay since the beginning of the Glasnost era is gone. This is not your bearded Gen X uncle's Rocky IV. Mild chuckle. Let me get a sip of my coffee. Okay. And finally, the UK's Guardian was not positive on the film at all, stating this is a ridiculous undertaking, a polish on a Cold War relic. In any form, Rocky IV remains a goofy, threadbare fantasy of Reagan-era bootstrapism and political saber-rattling. They're a little bit ridiculous, too. With every mighty Rocky punch landing like a sledgehammer to the Berlin Wall. The film continues to be a less fun recycling of the entertainingly tacky Rocky III, how dare you, starting with Creed's death in the ring against Drago in Las Vegas, which is so immensely unsettling that it throws the whole Rocky IV off balance, rendering Rocky's redemption efforts hollow. Groo, we took 5 critical reviews, a small representative sample of the critically reviewed Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago. I will take a breath and sip my purified drinking water. Andrew Guthiers, the floor is yours. Your review on Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago.
My review on Rocky IV, Rocky vs. Drago. First thing I'm going to do is what's our metric? How many boxing gloves or what is it? What is it?
Let me see here. Ooh, we didn't even think about this. I'm trying to think of something funny. How
about something having nothing to do with Rocky? Something like Van Damme and How about
give it
4 yippee-ki-yay motherfuckers?
How about Philly cheesesteaks?
All right, 4 Philly cheesesteaks. Okay, I'm gonna give it 3 Philly cheesesteaks. Maybe 3, maybe 3.5.
That's a big. Hold on,
yes.
That's a big difference. 3 to 3.5.
Here's the thing. Okay, I had a great experience watching this because it's really, you know that while you've always really disliked the original Rocky IV, that's not news. You've said it before. I've always liked it for what it was, but as I've said before, I've always wanted to see what it could have been, and this new cut almost gets there. Not quite, but still a great ride. Here's some things that I absolutely love. I love what they've done with Apollo's funeral. They give Duke a speech, and what Rocky says is much better than what he said in the original. It was just in the original it was just so, all right, let's get through this so we can get over to Russia. There's a scene that that is pretty much word for word from the original. It's when Apollo is trying to convince Rocky that he should take this fight, but what Stallone does is he adds in some of the old Bill Conti music, and that really changes the dynamic and the meaning of the scene. It actually shows you what music can really do, and I really feel like if this was the version that was released in 1984, Carl Weathers might have been up for some kind of award because he was really. This movie brings out his performance way more than the original. I love what they were able to do with Drago. There's a lot of controversy about why they cut out pretty much all of Brigitte Nielsen's performance. A lot of people think it's because of the divorce and he doesn't want her to have anything to say. I don't think that's it. I think that her character sort of emasculated Drago in the original, and they wanted to sort of put the focus back on Drago, and I think that worked, and I really like that. They obviously did not. Go ahead.
No, Ludmilla emasculated Drago in Creed 2.
Well, that's true.
Not in Rocky 4.
Well, no,
I just want to comment. I want to comment. The funeral with Duke. It's fine, but I actually thought what he said was kind of ridiculous. Basically, he said he's a warrior and he deserves to. He could die the way he wants to die on the Warriors Code, which I thought was like, I don't know, 2021. I thought that was a little bit of bullcrap. Go ahead, my friend. I'm sorry.
But you got to remember it was filmed in 1984.
I had to get that off my ample.
Okay. I also love what you said in the reviews. What they did with the fights. That last review seemed to be reviewing the original Rocky IV, because one thing that's noticeably different is the punches don't land like A-bombs. They land like actual, he's replaced all the sounds of the punches with punches that the way they sounded in Rocky Balboa and the way they sound in Creed, more modern and more realistic rather than the gigantic bombs that they used to be. Even for the stuff from Rocky III, from the Clubber Lang fights, he did that too. So that was interesting to see too. And I love I love both fights. I love that they do give Apollo. He does go down fighting. It's not just. It is destruction, but he never gives up. He's still throwing punches instead of just being a punching bag. So I really did enjoy this immensely. I wish they would have kept in a little bit more of Rocky Jr. I wish they would have kept a little bit more of the original Rocky IV. Maybe made it a little bit longer. It still flies by, but the changes that are there. All work to do exactly what I hoped it would do, and that is make it into more of a Rocky movie, and that is what it is now. With that being said, do I look at this as the definitive version of Rocky IV? No. I look at it as a supplement, as an alternative. That's what I look at it as. The original will always be the original, but this is. To me, this is more enjoyable to watch. Does that mean I'll never watch the original again? Absolutely not. Of course I will, because it's still incredibly enjoyable. But Stallone did, I think, as good as he could have done with this. There are some disagreements that I have about certain changes, small changes, but as a whole, I was really, really pleased. So 3 to 3.5. What did we say?
Philly cheesesteaks.
Philly cheesesteaks.
No, don't give me 3 to 3.5. It's either 3 or 3.5.
Okay, I'm gonna give it 3.5 because it comes just short of being exactly what I wanted it to be. So 3.5. And that's my review.
Thank you.
What about yours, Evan?
Thank you, Andrew. Well, I'm going to give you my thoughts first. Then I'll give you my final cheesesteak numerical metric.
Okay.
So I like to look at it as what I liked about the film, what I didn't like. I always start off like a parent-teacher conference. You always start off positive. So what I liked about Rocky vs. Drago, I'm just looking at my notes right now. It is a softer, quieter, more complete film. The additional scenes really work in terms of Rocky and Apollo. There's a real mutual friendship there that's fleshed out. It's a real friendship between two warriors, and you really feel the mutual respect they have for each other. I agree, Drago is a real character here. He speaks. He's a human with feelings. I did like that. The movie's less cartoony, and it is better. The sound is better. The boxing fights are more realistic. What I didn't like about Rocky vs. Drago, and I'm trying to listen to everything you say. I probably had more even thoughts on it, but again, I mentioned it that the 10-minute Rocky 3 recap was too much for me. I've seen Rocky 3, and I like a recap. It's going to set the stage. While I don't mind a quick glimpse, I thought it was too much. Perseverated on it too much. Give me a quick recap, and let's get to why we're here, which is Rocky 4. So ultimately, as Groo mentioned, I was never really a fan of the source material. So for me, it does improve upon Rocky 4. But if you're not a fan of Rocky 4, I don't think this will move you to change your overall feelings on the original movie. Now, what I will say is if you're a fan of Rocky 4, you may not actually like this recut because there's so much additional footage and a lot was taken out. So I've been consistent with this Rocky 4 deal the whole time. And as Ryan Rabalkin messaged us on Facebook, I kind of agree with what he said, which is this will feel like another movie, which it does to an extent, but keep your expectations low, and ultimately I agree, and that's how I feel. It improves upon the original incrementally, but not enough for me to say, wow, I really loved Rocky 4, so I'll give it 2.5 cheesesteaks, because it is better, but ultimately I think it's ultimately a silly story, and so it's a better silly story, but I'll give it 2.5 cheeses.
Yeah, and I like how you said it's a better silly story, because yes, it is, but the silliness of the original was so much bigger. Like, it was really a grudge match. It was revenge. And in this one, it's really about Rocky having to sort of redeem himself because the guilt is over the fact that it was supposed to be him fighting Drago, and he chose not to. So Apollo stepped in.
If I might add, isn't the guilt that he did not in Rocky 4? Now, in this recut, there's a little bit different perspective. But wasn't the guilt that he didn't throw in the towel?
Yes, and to me that was always ridiculous, and I'll tell you why.
Now, in this version, it's a little bit murkier because I think Duke says get the towel, but already the way the movie is cut, it looks like Drago's already released the final blow, the crushing blow that kills Apollo, so to speak. So I felt like this version, and I hate getting into the minutia like a typical Rocky nerd, but I did think that the recut sort of is a little murkier with the whole throwing in the towel scenario.
Yeah, I don't think it's about the towel anymore, which is good because it never made sense in the original. Because think about it, okay? Drago is beating on this guy. This is one thing I wish they would have taken out of the director's cut, but they didn't for some reason. When Drago is beating on Apollo and Rocky picks up the towel and Duke's yelling at him, throwing the towel, the referee tries to step in and stop the fight, and Drago throws him away. So you tell me, what the hell's a towel going to do? Nothing.
Well, first of all, you're getting into the whole ridiculousness of
right. Well, but
first of all,
but Rocky vs. Drago changes that a little bit.
He would have been DQ'd.
Of course,
he throws the ref in the recut as well.
Yes,
and he would have gotten a manslaughter charge or
100%
a murder charge.
You couldn't be more right, and that's always bothered me, and that's why I wish they would have taken that out of the director's cut. I don't know why they didn't, but at least they fixed that thing about the towel because it made no sense, and it was all about Apollo saying, "This is what I came to do. This is who I am, and if this is how I'm going to go, this is how I'm going to go." And that's what Duke's speech was about. I like how it connected a little bit. It had more of Apollo's wife and the horror she went through than they did in the original. It just seemed more interested in the characters rather than the overall overarching. Even at the end, what did you think? Because this is a big change too. At the very, very end,
I know what you're going to say.
Okay,
I know exactly what you're going to say.
All right.
I'm thinking about it right now, which is Rocky fist bumps.
No.
Touches gloves with Drago on the way out of the ring.
No, I do. Even though I do love that, what I was talking about was, if you'll remember in the original, the Politburo, after Rocky makes his speech, they stand up and start applauding, which was mega ridiculous, especially at that time. I love in this one they get up and storm off. I love that.
Realistic.
More realistic.
The whole thing's is unrealistic, but that's
that's true too. But this is about Rocky's. This is about Rocky doing what he feels needs to be done for him. It's not a revenge thing. It's not I'm going to go win the Cold War. That's why they adjusted that speech a little bit. It was basically about him and Apollo, which is, I think, what Stallone was going for. But let me ask you another question. You said, how you didn't need, you didn't like the recap in the beginning and all that stuff.
It felt long. It felt long to me.
Well, because it was about 9 minutes longer than the usual recap, so it was definitely long. But at the same time, you also said that you were a fan of like the No Easy Way Out montage, which I have never been a fan of. What did you think about that here? Was it necessary to keep that?
Well, look, to sift off you, it's enjoyable in a bad, cheesy way. I mean, I think I just love the whole song, and I'm a fan of I love I always fall for the Rocky workout montages, and this one's not really a workout montage. I mean, it's a bit repetitive if I took a step back and looked at it critically. I'm fine with it. From what I've read, some people still had a problem. The movie was obviously criticized as being, montage heavy, which I guess was a capstone of 80s cinema, or perhaps the Rocky movies were falling into that trap, so to speak. So, look, I could take it or leave it. Maybe if you're doing a more serious sort of look at Rocky IV, perhaps that maybe should have been excised.
You know what I might have done? You know what I might have done there? If I absolutely had to do it, meaning if I had to put that montage in, I would have filled it with shots or with angles or with things that we've never seen before, instead of just repeating the same things. I would put a whole bunch, like from all the movies. Take whatever you can, since he's just going through his whole life, or basically the whole series. Show us different angles of things instead of just showing the same old stuff, if you have to do it. And I also let me ask you what you think about this, because at the end, they always had they had the
excuse me. Sorry.
They had the two training montages. They had the training montage music from Vince DiCola, which I'm glad they kept, because that's a great theme. That first one.
Vince from Vince Coca-Cola?
Vince Coca-Cola. It's great. And then they have the Hearts on Fire one, and then they play Hearts on Fire at the end too. I was really hoping that they would take that second montage and put back in the original, like Gonna Fly Now, that they always had in the other ones, and then save Hearts on Fire for the end, like it was in the beginning. But whatever. Look, they didn't do it. It's not going to change anything now. I'm just, I just promised myself I would talk about things decisions that I would have made if I were in the. But there's a reason I'm not.
I hear you. I don't know if that would have really moved me as a viewer. I mean, obviously the whole. I think it's. I don't know if it's the first or the second montage. Obviously, they're trying to show somehow that Rocky's threadbone training is somehow equal to Drago's overhyped computer, which, by the way, that first scene where they're sort of press conference and they have all the reporters and Drago's punching, and there's literally a full lab of computer scientists, I'm like, come on. There's probably one guy looking at something. There's not a whole team of people. Anyway,
and then they pump him up with steroids.
Yeah, I think that the other thing is, and this goes back to probably my shading that shades my review, which is I've gotten caught in this director's cut trap so many times where I'm like, oh my God, Aliens director's cut, 23 additional minutes. And what I've come to find as a viewer, they had Netflix, Blade Runner. They've had the director's cut and the final cut, an additional 20-something minutes. And again, it's definitely different, but like, how much more are you going to change the source material? You understand what I'm saying? Like, I've watched these director's cuts now. They've had them for a long time, and I know this is like a recut, and it definitely changes the movie, but you know what I mean? Like, I've fallen for that trap, and I've come to realize after watching all these director's cut over the years in various movies, the source material is still the source material, and for me, most of the time, it only moved it incrementally. Like, if I loved the movie, I loved it maybe slightly more, and if I didn't like the movie, maybe I liked it less or liked it. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it makes a lot of sense, and that's actually kind of what I like about this one, because it's way more than just a director's cut. Usually, a director's cut will take deleted scenes and just put them in, and then release that as the director's cut. Maybe a couple little other subtle changes, but that would take about 3 weeks to put together. This was a brand new movie from start to finish. And there are I can't even count the amount of different angles and different cuts. Even if they mean nothing, it's still obvious that he went way back to the beginning. There are very different musical cues, even from the Vince Coca-Cola music. There's just, he obviously tried to remake this movie as much as he could with what he had. That's not the usual process. The usual process is the director saying, yeah, put all those scenes back in and then let me look at it before you release it. That's usually what these director's cuts are. This is not that. This was like, and people do it in music too. People re-record their hits, or sometimes they make changes. They're looking at it from a 21st century lens, and if sometimes, especially look, without the pandemic, this wouldn't have happened. So he obviously wasn't on his radar until he found himself with literally nothing to do. So you could chalk it up to that as well. But I don't.
Well,
go ahead.
If that's the case, I do want to thank publicly COVID-19 for helping us out on this one.
But look, I've seen 3 different versions of like Terminator 2, and they're all the same. The only difference is that they've taken a whole bunch of deleted scenes that you could get on the outtakes of the first DVD and just throw it into the movie. There's nothing different. That's those are where you get burned. But this is a different experience, I think.
All right. Well,
do you disagree?
Well,
do you just? I mean, do
no.
I mean, isn't it? Do you
just
put
shut
this
down my whole?
Well, do you put this in the same category as the 19th Blade Runner?
No.
Cut?
I will agree with that. No, there was a lot more thought put into this. I guess ultimately, if you liked Rocky IV, well, if you didn't like Rocky IV, which I didn't, I don't think it's going to move the meter enough where you go, I see it completely different. But I agree. I do agree with you. Stallone definitely put some thought into this, and it does. I don't know if it feels like a completely different movie, but it definitely feels like a more full, more complete cinematic experience.
So it did move the needle a little bit for you.
Yeah, I gave it 2.5 cheesesteaks.
Yeah.
I think our reviews pretty much go down the line on how we see originally Rocky IV and how we see the series, and we're pretty consistent with our reviews. I think like we'll do other movies, and usually the stuff that Andy likes about movie and doesn't like, I'm not going to say I can read it consistently across the board, but there's some generalities there, and I think Andy would say the same thing about what I like about movies and what I don't like. So
I'll agree with that.
But let me ask you on the Q&A, Groo, one final thing. Stallone has teased the possibility of a prequel television series that tells the story of Rocky growing up in the 1960s. He's pitched that idea on social media earlier this year. Before we move on from the Rocky world and get to the week that was, any thoughts on perhaps this prequel or future Rocky universe projects?
Yes, I would like it to end now because unless you're going to do, like, I would love to see him try what he did for Rocky 4 with Rocky 5, which is a movie that really sucked. I don't think he'll be able to because I don't think there's really enough there to change. But I heard that interview too with, he's talking about maybe a series about young Rocky. Don't want it. There's only one Rocky Balboa, and that's Sylvester Stallone. Nobody else could play that part. I don't care what you say. It doesn't work. And I'm not interested. For the same reason that I'm not interested in going to see another Creed movie if Rocky Balboa is not a part of it. Because this is Rocky's universe. And I'm not invested enough in the Adonis Creed story in and of itself to care without Rocky standing next to him. So the answer is no. I think they've done everything that they can do. It's one of the biggest franchises ever, and I'm good.
Okay.
What about you?
I still think that the Paulie project, the Mickey. I think there was something pitched to Netflix. Mickey Goldschmidt, whatever Mickey's last name was.
Goldmill.
Post World War II. Opening up the gym in Philly as, a Jew, perhaps dealing with, post World War II anti-Semitism, that kind of thing. That did sound.
That could be interesting as long as they.
But I understand your point, and I agree with you, because there's so many times these movie universes, they spin-offs and these kind of things, and it always falls flat. For the most part. Always falls flat.
Yes. The reason that the Creed movies I thought were good is because they made it just as much about Rocky as they did about Creed. If Stallone was just there for window dressing, it wouldn't have worked. He was integral to the plot. So without him, to me, it doesn't work. So I'm not interested.
All right, well, that was our review of Rocky 4, Rocky First Drago. Groo, cue it up. Let's get to it. 5 things we're talking about this week. We ready to rock and roll? It's
we
nothing
are ready.
Worthwhile. The week that was. Oh, I'm getting the high sign. The week that was is brought to you by New You Life Center. Begin a new you. Marie's moving into a new office soon. Check out all their medical weight loss programs at www.newulifecenters.com. That's NUYOU, lifecenters.com, or give them a call at 602-274-0068. Tell them Moody and Groo sent you and receive a nothing worthwhile 15% off your first service. Want to thank Marie and New You Life Center. Groo, scary stuff on Monday emanating from New York and emanating from our flagship show, Monday Night Raw. One WWE fan at Barclays Center attempted to get into the action by attacking one of the wrestlers. A fan jumped the guardrail near the back of the ramp and tackled WWE star Seth Rollins as he was walking back from his match during Monday Night Raw on Monday. Twitter videos show the fan getting a full sprinting start before making contact with Rollins. With the fan on top of him, Rollins can be seen attempting to push him off and wriggle himself free. WWE officials, referees, and other crew members attempted to pull the fan off Rollins, whose real name is Colby Lopez. One referee delivered a running elbow to the fan's back, helping Rollins to finally get free. An incensed Rollins, who had just had a match with Finn Balor, began screaming at the fan as he was pushed to the back by security. The Brooklyn fans, in all their glory, started to chant, "F him up! F him up!" Another video shows the fan being escorted out of the area by security. Quote, WWE takes the security of its performers very seriously, WWE said in a statement. The individual attacked Seth Rollins has been turned over to NYPD and will be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. Groo, this is the second time a fan has jumped the barrier at the Barclays Center and attacked a member of the WWE. You may remember pro wrestling legend Bret the Hitman Hart was rushed by a fan in the ring during the WWE Hall of Fame ceremony in 2019. Groo, not too much to mind here, but never fun when fans try to interject themselves into WWE action. Thoughts?
Yeah, you can't have that. I didn't see the WWE footage. I saw fan shot footage, so I don't really know what was seen on television. But
did you see it live, or
no? I did not.
It was edited out.
I did not see it live.
I think it was edited out of Hulu.
Yeah, but I saw plenty of different angles from fan shot footage. It's funny because it looks like it's part of the storyline. Like he comes out, he gives him a great spear. I thought it was starting a new storyline, but it was pretty apparent very quickly that it wasn't. But Rollins handled himself very well. He could have easily just started beating the shit out of the guy, but he didn't. Definitely cursed at him, which he should have done, which he definitely should have done. But it was you get security's got to get on the ball, man. You can what the Hitman thing that was at Barclays Center too.
Yeah, that was Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the night before. All right. Yeah, that's we can't have that. Why? Has the guy explained like what he was going for? Has anybody?
No, I think he's got some mental health issues, and
I would hope so.
I think he. I read it. The girlfriend apparently has had some problems. He's apparently come out and apologized. But there was something going on where he was catfished, perhaps, by somebody claiming to be Seth Rollins, and
oh yes, I did read that.
I don't know too much more about it.
Yeah, there was something deeper. He thought that like Rollins was, and it wasn't Rollins, but somebody was like trying to pretend they were Rollins and get him all riled up. Can we do this at WrestleMania? Well, our seats are kind of close to the stage area. Can we do that? Like, what if we what if we speared together? You and I, can we spear Brock Lesnar? You think that'll go over?
Yeah, it'll go over well for us and our careers and our lives. It'll be just ruined in a blink of a moment. Yeah. Yes.
Our parents will be so proud.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we'll end up back living with them.
Yes, exactly.
We spear Brock Lesnar.
Well, yeah.
Well, as Groo is referencing, we'll be back at WrestleMania again this year, 5th year in a row out of 6. Only one miss due to COVID. So we'll talk about that as we get a little bit closer. But always not fun when fans get involved in the action in the WWE. Groo, last Saturday, it was indeed a bit of a train wreck as 80s pop sensation Tiffany was caught on camera slurring profanities at a group of fans at her show. Groo, the 80s singing sensation, now 50, my age, was caught on camera.
She's still hot.
Verbally, well, you'll take a look at this footage shortly. Was caught on camera verbally abusing concert goers at her show in Lake Park, Florida. The former teen idol was partway through a performance of her biggest hit, 1987's "I Think We're Alone Now," when she lashed out at the crowd.
To be anyone around.
She said, "F you guys!" Tiffany mumbled into her microphone as she stood barefoot on the stage. Oh, boy. The star then dropped another F-bomb before slurring something inaudible. "This is my hit!" she subsequently yelled at fans. "I'm going to sing it right." Tiffany then launched into the chorus of the classic track, which was ear-splitting and off-key. Groo, please take a look and a listen as we have video of the concert. So let's do this. Let me...
just share that screen.
Okay, hold on. So I'm going share screen. Share sound.
Yep, share that sound. Ooh, share your sound.
And
all right, I see it. I see it.
All right, Groo. Tiffany live from Lake Platte, Florida.
Whoa!
I think we're alone now, yelling at fans.
She's not hot
Here we go.
anymore. Oh boy. That's not Tiffany.
That is Tiffany.
Good Lord. My goodness gracious.
My hit. I'm not singing it right.
She's blasted. She's loaded.
Look out the way.
Oh. My God. Oh.
Running just as fast as you can.
Even I can do it better than her.
Yeah, the chorus.
Try to get away into the night. Oh, good grief. Wow.
Yeah, that was, Yaha.
Didn't she do Playboy like 3 years ago? She was hot.
Well, I mean,
what happened?
Groo, you mean with the belly and the bad tattoos on her?
I guess maybe it's been a much longer time since she did that spread. But
well, Groo, before I get your thoughts on that horrific video, she is on a tour of the U.S., the Shadows Tour. She has performed in more than a dozen shows across the country in the past month. Tiffany did not directly address the controversy on her Instagram account, but hinted at some mischief in a post shared last Sunday saying, "Happy Sunday, you all. Hope you're all behaving," she wrote beneath the selfie. Groo, as we saw a pretty wacky, shocking video of what looks like to me an intoxicated Tiffany completely shitting the bed. Andrew, thoughts?
She's shitting more than the bed there. I mean, it looks like she's wearing a full diaper there. But I don't know. I guess at some point, if you can't... Look, she obviously... We're not one to talk, but she looks like a train wreck. She does not look like...
Yeah, but she's got to be intoxicated, right?
Yeah, she
really
definitely looks intoxicated, but let's say she's not, all right? If she's not...
Where's her... All right, go ahead.
Well, let's say she's not. Let's say that's her at her best. She's not even close to hitting those notes. So what the hell is she doing on stage? You know? Like, she's not even close.
Yeah, my thing is also, where's her management? I mean,
that's my point.
Clearly... somebody's got to pull her off the stage. She's making an embarrassment out of herself. And
yeah, but why
was she in Playboy?
Yeah, I don't know exactly when, but she was, and she was great. Look, she was a superstar.
Yeah, I'm unzip, zip, zoom.
Yeah, her and Debbie Gibson were like the it girls of the 80s, and they both ended up in Playboy. Gibson, I think, still looks pretty good, but Tiffany, what happened?
You mean Deborah Gibson?
Deborah Gibson.
Wait. You're telling me Debbie Gibson was in Playboy?
Yeah.
Where the hell have I been?
Well, Arizona.
You were with her too?
Yeah.
Artie with the Voldemort.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see. Let's check out our our extensive research capabilities here. Debbie Gibson. Debbie Gibson. It looks like she was in Playboy in 2011.
So that's really that's 10 years ago.
And now let's see what year Tiffany was in there. Let's see. This looks like Tiffany. It wasn't that long ago. It was
what?
Tiffany. It was when was she on it? Yeah, 2008. Oh my God, she's beautiful.
Oh wow.
Oh my God, yeah, 2008.
So she was probably about 38. So that's right in her wheelhouse. Right,
yeah,
that's good. I'll have to.
Or my wheelhouse.
I'll have to. I mean, I don't look at Playboy anymore because I'm in a serious relationship. But Avenye, Playboy, Ipsene.
Isn't that when you start looking at Playboy when you're in a serious relationship?
Very good point. Touché, my friend. That is correct. Groo, we'll get into the woke agenda on this item. Groo, and then I read some other stuff. Groo, Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle were both targets of efforts to cancel their careers after controversies. Louis C.K. was accused of sexual misconduct in 2017 after years of rumors. He was thrown off shows, TV shows, and movies as the press ran with stories about Louis C.K.'s alleged inappropriate behavior. Dave Chappelle was chastised for perceived transphobic comments he made in some numerous Netflix comedy specials. Regardless of how hard fans tried to cancel the pair, they are still receiving critical acclaim. Louis C.K. Groo got a nomination for Best Comedy Album, and Chappelle received a Grammy nod for Best Spoken Word. Groo, you may remember that Louis C.K. admitted that he exposed himself and, masturbated in front of women. The hashtag #MeToo movement quickly swept in and caused his professional career to certainly come to a halt. Louis C.K. was making a comeback in 2019. I know he was doing some comedy dates, and the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and that stopped the comedian's momentum once again. Chappelle's comments on the Closer special created furor all over the place. Trans employees at Netflix staged a walkout. The nomination in the wake of serious controversy may well mark perhaps a slight dent into cancel culture. The recording industry obviously has no problem nominating these two controversial entertainers. I am kind of getting sick of talking about it, but I did already put this into our notes. Groo will find out more about how they feel when the Grammy Awards go down on January 31st, 2022. Groo, Louis C.K. and Dave Chappelle get Grammy nominations.
Good for them. I think I didn't hear Louis C.K.'s album, but I heard Chappelle's, and he more than deserves it. It was fantastic. Louis C.K. is a great stand-up comedian. Now, with this whole cancel shit, okay, I think we need to go back to the original rules, and that is with everything. Okay, with everything. If Dave Chappelle says something you don't like, don't watch it. Okay? If a politician says something you don't like, don't vote for him. Okay? Those are the rules. It's enough. It's only working to get people angrier and more divisive, and if something's good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. Let it fucking be. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, fuck yeah, America! Oh, sorry, I lost myself for a second. My God, somebody stop the damn match!
Yeah.
I'm pumped up right now. Let me do some push-ups.
They've killed him! They've killed him!
Yeah, I agree. I'm almost tired of talking. I saw where Chappelle went to his... I was going to clip that. He went to his high school, and he got, like, the alumni were, like, going nose to nose with him. You know, like, it's just... I actually, Groo, I like it. It's simple. It's a simple rule to follow. Listen, don't listen to me. Follow Andrew Gruthis.
You know why, though? Because they are attacking people and things that are not, they're not seeing it the way it is. Like, let me just take Dave Chappelle for an example. All right? There was nothing transphobic about what the things that he said. He in his special, he was talking about the transphobia, and he was talking about how both sides handle these things, and he's pretty much telling nothing but truth. And you're going to get vilified for telling the truth. Louis C.K. has a personal issue, all right? But hey, if people want to still go see him and buy his records, buy his albums, please. He should not. Everybody's entitled to work, to do their job. Okay? And if you don't like the kind of job they do, then you fire them or you don't see them. But anything more than that, that's not breaking laws, I mean, fuck you. You know, nobody's breaking laws here. You don't like it, don't listen. But this has been going on forever. This happened to our favorites. This happened to Dice Clay. It happened to Sam Kinison. It happened to Pryor. It happened to Carlin. This is nothing new. You know what I mean?
God bless
America, my home sweet.
John Cena sucks. Listen. I don't know if I would agree with the Dice Kinison. They got flack, but they weren't canceled. They were able to still bring their acts to, they may have had a protest or somebody may have said something on a radio show. But
Dice's career got derailed.
Was that because of his material just wasn't great? And he
no, it was. I remember it was when the movie came out. No. when the movie
Come on
20th
now.
Century Fox was putting the Adventures of Ford Fairlane out, okay,
Yeah, which was
and
a stinker.
they were okay. Well, I like it, but
course.
either way, okay. Before when they started with the publicity for that movie, okay, all the anti-Dice Clay people started ripping down billboards and doing all that stuff. So the marketing behind the movie was completely pulled. They yanked it out about half of the theaters that it was supposed to be in, and they ended up saying, okay, this movie's going to flop, and we're just going to let it die instead of putting some weight behind it. And that really hurt Dice Clay's career.
Well, in that case, that's okay. Everything else is bad. I agree with that one. I agree with that one. And the others...
Oh, I thought that movie was really funny.
We'll do a Ford Fairlane.
We might have to now. Because now I'm interested in hearing what you think about that. Or
Groo, the next two are light, fun, coffee talk, morning show segments. Groo, I found something. I didn't want to do anything heavy. Interesting tidbit on yesterday actually, as Walmart has launched an instant drone delivery system for customers living within a 50-mile radius of its headquarters in northern Arkansas. The retail giant has partnered with a drone company, Zipline, to launch the new system that will offer on-demand delivery for health, wellness, and consumable items within 50 miles of the Walmart neighborhood market in Pea Ridge. Quote, "It's unbelievably exciting. We've been working towards this day for many years," said Zipline CEO Liam O'Connor. He told CBS News. Zipline began operations in 2016 and to the date has completed over 200,000 deliveries of 4.5 million units of medical supplies, serving over 20 million people in several countries, the company said. So, Groo, listen to this. Once Walmart receives an online order, it's an item. Well, what?
It's an item.
An item will be placed inside a specially designed box with the parachute attached. Packages are scanned, installed with the parachute before they are loaded onto a drone in a payload bay. A battery is installed into the drone before it's launched for delivery from a 25-foot platform specially built for the aircraft. The drone leaves for the customer's home before dropping off the package and returning to its launch location. Groo, customers can track their packages through the Zipline app. The service will be free while Walmart and Zipline gather customer feedback from the service. Walmart and Zipline are hoping to expand nationwide after a successful test run. Groo, could there be a day in which a freshly made chicken parm hero gets dropped right in front of your front door via parachute?
Yes,
right,
and when it does, don't come bitching to me about unemployment rates. Okay, so go.
Don't come bitching to me.
Right, if you're going to actively look for ways to cut down on your employment, then I don't want to hear about oh my God, can't get a job out there. Well, because you're letting technology take everything. So. Isn't that dangerous to be dropping shit from the sky?
Well, first of all, let's step back for a second. Hold on. A couple of things. I won't kill your point about technology, but technology is always going to sort of move ahead. And while I won't deny that perhaps that wouldn't take jobs from one sector, perhaps it'll open up jobs in the other because you'll have to have people manufacture these, whatever the fuck they're called, these drones and people to run them. But I do understand your point. So while jobs perhaps may close, perhaps others open up, that's, I think, a fair, debatable point. I mean, to the could stuff be dangerous? I mean, yeah, could like a chicken parm hero from 100 feet
just
really hurt? Yeah,
plop, just like
yeah.
Hey, dinner's here.
Well, actually, I guess maybe some of it will be dropped by a parachute, but I think the drone probably should land, and there might be some technology that pushes the items onto the cement or the floor.
This is getting scary.
I don't know. I just thought, when I heard it, I thought, let me ask Groo about a chicken farm hero being dropped off. Freshly
I'm
made.
all for someone bringing me chicken parm, but a bird dropping it out of the sky, you know, I don't know what the fuck they're going to be doing with it.
All right. Well, in the same food realm, Groo, finally, the Biden administration is trying to rein in gas prices by releasing oil from the U.S. Strategic Reserve. But a different sticky supply situation north of the border has spurred Canadians to tap their emergency stockpile of maple syrup. This is true. The Quebec maple syrup producers is a government-sponsored cartel. Isn't cartels like illegal? That controls some of the 70% of the world's maple syrup supply. And sometimes it is compared to OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries' grip on oil. The consortium was mine, Vince. Remember Ric Flair? The consortium was mine. I own 51%. The consortium of... And I remember Vince was like doing his ears.
Yeah, with the ear.
And Rick was like, woo! Then Rick went, I'm going to go on a plane ride and walk around naked while intoxicated.
We're partners.
Now I'm going to complain while no wrestling company wants anything to do with me. Woo! Anyway, so Groo, I guess this consortium of more than 11,000 Canadian maple syrup producers said this week that a warmer and shorter than expected spring led to a 24% year-over drop in production of the pancake topping. Amid surging demand for syrup, as more people cook at home amid the pandemic, the cartel has been forced to tap a whopping 50 million pounds of syrup from its strategic reserve. The group will authorize more production of syrup next season in order to make up for the shortfall this year. The French-speaking Canadian province of Quebec produces more than 70% of the world's maple syrup supply. Groo, the short, warm spring season hit maple syrup production particularly hard because tree sap is only able to be harvested during a small window when the temperature alternates between freezing and thawing. The harvesting of sap and subsequent refining of it into syrup can be an intensive process that's heavily reliant on weather conditions. This marks the first time in 3 years, though, Groo, that the group has to tap its maple syrup reserve. Groo, any thoughts on maple syrup? Oh my God, I'm sorry, but it was a long week. I thought it was funny.
I love maple syrup.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, I mean, this is I don't even know where to go with this. I mean, I'm looking at mine right now, and it's looking nice right there. I don't know what the problem is up there. Are they? Do they need me to send them my log cabin light?
Groo, I think we should start a charity, or a GoFundMe.
Let's do a "We Are the World" type song for Canada and their maple syrup woes. Let's call Bob. Let's call Bob Geldof right now, okay, and we'll get this thing going.
I'm actually going to work on that this week.
I mean, we gotta talk about the sap. We gotta talk about pancakes. We gotta talk about different kinds of pancakes. How chocolate chip will absorb the certain kinds of flavors of maple syrup, or oh my God, what the hell?
And remember, no mentioning of Aunt Jemima, please.
Who? I don't know who you're talking about.
Thank you.
By the way, I still have my empty Aunt Jemima thing. I'm keeping it as like a souvenir. Yeah, because they have renamed the company. I couldn't catch what
was it.
I don't know. I saw it looks the same, but I forgot the name of the company. It's not a person. It's a place.
Okay, but is it still the shape of a woman, or did they change the bottom?
There's no person on it. It's just the lettering is the same, and the from a distance it looks like it's still the same. But then when you go up to it, you could see it's just the name of the company. They did the same with like Uncle Ben's rice.
Well, Uncle Ben's is now Ben's, I believe.
Yeah.
Uncle, it's Ben's.
They've made these changes, and look, it's all part of the Washington Redskins thing and all of that. It's not going away. It's only going to keep growing. And that's just
what
it is. There's no way.
Am I the only one that's sort of? I'm kind of used to the Washington football team.
I will never get used to that on principle. It's just so silly. We should do a podcast on that.
No, thank you. Let's do it. Let's do a podcast next Saturday. It'll be Saturday, December 4th. It will be episode 3 of Van Damme It. Andrew and I will be looking at Jean-Claude Van Damme's 1989 Kickboxer. An ancient sport becomes a deadly game. Ladies and gentlemen.
And oddly enough, the day after, I heard that Where There's a Willis and There's a Way is going to do one on Kickboxer as well, even though it's got nothing to do with Bruce Willis.
Yeah, we might as well just do a Spite podcast and do like an Arnold movie or.
Since after this we're getting kicked off this network.
Yeah, you tell that Ryan Rebolton. I want to hear from him.
Oh God!
Or is it mine?
We're making friends fast around here, Evan.
I mean, come on. Do we really need a blood sport 21st to 50th minute recap or the ancient history of Kumite?
Oh God! Well, look, everybody does. Look, the thing about podcasts is that people talk about what they want to talk about. That's true. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's why it differs from radio.
Well, I do like the what was it? The drunk, the Rocky Five.
The drunk Bond. Yes, that was fantastic.
That was good. I did enjoy listening to that. I have to give credit where credit is due. That was a good one. Groo, in 2 weeks, Saturday, December 11th, Nothing Worthwhile. We'll be back with a brand new show. It's the Kevin Hart Breakthrough Classic 2015.
Yes.
The Wedding Ringer, thought to be Kevin Hart's first top billing starring role. He's the best man money can buy. Groo, The Wedding Ringer.
I'm very excited. You and I watched that movie in New York this past weekend, and I think it's one that really falls. It doesn't get remembered the way it should. I don't know why. It's strange. Everyone's looking at like Central Intelligence and like all these big time Kevin Hart movies. This is, to me, I mean, we were laughing constantly, and this is the best Kevin Hart there is, and I'm really looking forward to talking about it with you.
It could be a yuck fest.
Yes.
All right, Groo, before we depart, once in a while we like to play games here. I have in front of me all of the domestic lifetime grosses for the Rocky movies, including the 2 Creed movies. So I don't know if you want to write down on a piece of paper. We're going to do Rocky 2, Rocky 3, Rocky 4, Rocky 5, Rocky Balboa, Creed, and Creed 2. So,
didn't you? I thought you were going to have me put them in order.
Well, do you want me to read you number 8 and the lifetime gross, and you tell me which was the number 8?
Okay, we'll go that. We'll go that way. That's fine. Okay. I like that.
All right. So, factoring in Rocky through Rocky Balboa and Creed 1 and Creed 2, the lowest grossing with a lifetime domestic gross of $40,946,000, 358, $40 million, almost $41 million. Which one would you put at number 8?
I'm going to say Rocky 5.
Okay. How do you want to do this? You want me to tell you if you're right or wrong? Or you want to go through the whole? You put it in order as I call it out, and then we'll go through your list and my list.
Yeah. No. I don't want to know till the end because that'll eliminate certain ones. So I'm saying fine. Rocky 5. Rocky 5 is the lowest.
All right. Write this down if you have a pen. Number 8 is Rocky 5.
Okay. Keep going.
Okay. Number 7 with a lifetime domestic gross of just a tad over $70 million, $70,270,000. What movie are you going to guess there?
I'm going to
say
over
$70 million.
I'm going to say Rocky Balboa.
Okay.
So I've got Rocky 5, and then
number 8 Rocky.
All right,
we're going to work backwards. Number 7 Rocky Balboa.
All right, so number 8, 5, number 7 Balboa. Okay.
Now number 6 charted in as just a tad over $85 million. $85,182,000. What Rocky, and we don't forget your creeds, what Rocky Creed are you going to pick for the number 6 slot.
What was the amount?
Just a little bit over 85 mil.
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to say 85 mil. I have a question. Are we adjusting for inflation, or is this their actual gross at the time?
I have no idea.
All right, 85 mil.
It's listed as lifetime gross in the article that I clipped. So the research.
Okay, so I'm going to go with...
I could give you number of theaters, and the opening weekend if you like.
Give me that for this number 6.
This number 6 opened at 780 theaters with an opening gross of just over $6 million.
Okay, I'm going to say Rocky 2.
Okay. We will move on to number 5. What Rocky Creed jaunt scored just a tad under 110 million at 109,767,000. Opened up over 3,500 screens with an opening weekend take of 29,632,000 and change.
Okay, I'm going to go with Creed 2 on that one.
Okay. We will now move to number 4. This is good. What Rocky Creed jaunt scored just a tad under 116 mil, 115,715,000. Opened up in 3,700 theaters with an opening weekend take of 35,574,000.
That's going to be the first Creed, I think.
Okay.
How many theaters did you say?
37, over 37.
Yeah, that's the first Creed, I think.
Okay. Number 3 made just a tad over 117 million, and we'll just leave it at that.
Okay, I'll say Rocky 3.
Number 2 is listed as just a tad bit over 124 million, 146,000. Opened on over 1,300 screens with an opening weekend take of over 12,431,000.
All right, I'm going to say Rocky 4.
Okay. And numero uno had a number listing of a lifetime gross of just under 128 million, 127,873,000 to be exact. Opened at 2,254 theaters with an opening take of just under 20 mil, 19,991,000.
All right, I'm way off on this. I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna say this number 1 is Rocky 4. I'm gonna say number 2 is the original Rocky.
Okay.
All right. So I'll just go through my top 8. Are you ready?
You want me to? Yeah. Do you want me to? Okay. Go ahead.
I have at number 8, I got Rocky 5. Number 7, I got Rocky Balboa. Number 6, I have Rocky 2. Number 5, Creed 2. Number 4, Creed 1. Number 3, Rocky 3. Number 2, Rocky. Number 1, Rocky 4. That's what I've.
All right, you want me to go start from the bottom and work my way up?
Did you guess, or do you just have them written down?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right.
Right in front of me.
Let's see how I did.
I will say, you could see, I've always respect my friend's knowledge. He came pretty darn close, my friend.
Okay.
Number 8, Andrew, you said Rocky 5?
Yes.
You are correct. Number 8 is Rocky 5 at just a tad bit, just a shade under 41 million.
What a bomb.
Opened at 2,100 theaters, took an opening weekend of 14 mil, and it really probably dropped off from there. Released November 16th, 1990 by United Artists.
Mm-hmm.
Number 7, Andrew, you said what film? Please?
I said Rocky Balboa.
Final answer?
Yes.
I'm just vamping. All right, Braxton, lock him in on Rocky Balboa. This movie took in just a bit over 70,270,000 over 3,000 theaters, with an opening weekend of over 12 million. Released December 20th, 2006. Metro Golden Man, Rocky Balboa. Yeah. You're good. You are good, as they say, as De Niro says. You are good, very good. I super enjoyed Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, me too.
Groo, what'd you have for number 6?
I had number 6. I had Rocky 2.
Okay, Rocky 2, you say. This film made over 85,780 theaters. I think the numerics sort of give it away. Opening weekend of over 6 million. Opened in 780 theaters. Released June 15th, 1979 by United Artists. Andrew, you are correct. Rocky 2. So Groo is 3 for 3. Okay, Andrew, number 5, you had?
Creed 2.
Okay, this movie made over 109 million, close to 110, just a shade under 110. Opened in 3,500 theaters. Opening weekend of just a shade under 30 mil. 3,400 screens in the opening weekend. Release November 25th, 2015. The correct answer is Creed.
Ooh. Okay. Wrong. That surprises me.
Number 4. Well, number 4, you said Creed, I believe. All right, this movie opened. This movie has a lifetime take. Just a shade under 116 mil. Opened in 3,700 theaters. Opening weekend take of about a little bit under 36 mil. 3,400 screens, similar to Creed. And of course, this was released 2 years later. Andrew, it was Creed 2.
Yeah, so I got them reversed.
Just got them mixed. Yeah. So Creed 2 made about 6 million more, it looks like, than Creed.
And the only reason that I reversed those is because I thought that Creed 1 was more successcul.
Yeah, I think the whole Creed 2, I think the Drago connection.
I loved it. I'm just, but okay. All right, one wrong. Doing pretty well.
All right, what do you got for number 3 again?
Number 3, appropriately, I have Rocky 3.
Okay, this movie took in just a shade above 117 million. This was released November 21st. A lot of the Rocky movies were released in November, by the way. 1976, I have the original Rocky at number 3.
Wow. Okay. So then
number 2, you had what did you
Rocky?
Have for number
I had
2?
The original Rocky.
All right. Well, this one took in a little bit over 124 million lifetime gross total. Opened on 1,300 screens. Opening weekend take of just a bit over 12 million. May 28th, 1982. Rocky 3, listed as the number 2. And I believe you got the number 1 choice correct, the one Rocky that we talked about today. Rocky 4, with a lifetime domestic gross of over 100, a little bit under 128 million. Opened on 2,200 screens, just a shade under 20 million opener. 1,325 screens. Opened November 27, 1985. United Artists. Rocky 4.
So I got 50%, which is kind of weird because if you get one wrong, you automatically get 2 wrong.
That's
you know
true.
What I mean?
Well,
but I'm surprised. I always thought Rocky was still like the top grosser of those. But
I think I've read though. I think Rocky 4 was the most popular of the series. I mean, it had the largest, I think, gross earnings.
Yeah. And going back to the biggest bomb in the series, Rocky 5, I remember going to see Rocky 5 on opening night, and it was packed. And I was like, all right, this is going to be a hit, no matter how bad or good it might be. But then I went outside after the movie was over, and I saw the lines around the theater. Now, it was a multiplex. And I was like, all right, this must be all for Rocky, and I was wrong. It was for a different movie, the movie that wiped Rocky V off of the map forever and to die a slow death.
Which was what?
It was a little movie called Home Alone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I will never... Well...
I think probably, no secret, probably... you're going to get a strong opener, and then when word of mouth hits that this is not a strong Rocky film, it probably had a strong opening weekend, and it kind of fizzled a slow death.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did, and it continues to fizzle that slow death.
Well, Andrew,
I'll tell you what's going to be. I'll tell you what's going to be a hit, though. The new Ghostbusters is going to make a lot of money.
Yeah, I mean,
it's getting getting a lot of repeat business. I saw it, liked it a lot.
Do you want to give everyone your Ghostbusters Afterlife review?
No, because maybe if you eventually see it, maybe we'll do one on it. Maybe you'll find it. Okay. Maybe because I honestly it'll be interesting because I honestly have no clue how you're going to react to it, and I'm really interested to see how you do.
All right, save your thoughts.
Yes.
Save your thoughts, brother.
Yes.
All right, you want to take us home?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on our first show back from the Thanksgiving holiday. Ladies and gentlemen, next week we will be coming at you with our offshoot, if you will, another episode of Van Damn It. We will be covering the 80s classic Kickboxer. And it's going to be fun. It's going to be filled with mirth, mayhem, and merriment to celebrate the incoming holiday season. And we're going to be following that one with the Kevin Hart, Josh Gad classic, The Wedding Ringer. So we got a lot coming up on Nothing Worthwhile. I guess you could call it the winter of movies because that's what we seem to be doing now, at least for a little while. But don't worry. Plenty more WWE, Howard Stern, and everything else that is Nothing Worthwhile coming your way. And until then, ladies and gentlemen, 1, 2, 3.
Rap 'em. Whack, whack.